Try to memorize these 8 numbers, 06281914. What if I asked you tomorrow? Would you be likely to remember it? Well, what if I told you the start of World War I, a turning point in the history of the world, occurred on June 28, 1914? June 28th is also the day the Treaty of Versailles ended World War I, as well as the day Mike Tyson bit off Evander Holyfield's ear. What if this was also the same day as your birthday? I mean, the June 28th part, not the 1914 part. Now how likely are you to remember? What I did was I put raw numbers into context. Numbers by itself makes very little sense, and neither do words. Words have to be put into context to really be considered language. So let's go back to our orange. In a previous lesson, we learned 3 things. Japanese does not require a subject, meaning that you don't have to say, I eat oranges, but just, oranges eat. Remember, the word order is different in Japanese, and the verb comes last. Japanese has formal and informal form. You use the informal form with your friends and people you're close to, and the formal form with pretty much everyone else. And finally, I eat oranges is pronounced as orenji o taberu. So what's next on our journey to learning Japanese? Let's learn some tenses. Today we're going to learn I ate oranges. Orenji o tabeta. Let's get started.
In English, we know 3 main tenses: present tense, future tense, and past tense. We're going to go through all these tenses today. You already learned to speak in the present tense with orenji wo taberu. Actually, that means you also know how to speak in the future tense. That's right, it's exactly the same thing. Orenji wo taberu. You might be wondering, won't it get confusing? Actually, it really doesn't. There are many languages that don't differentiate between present and future tense. If you want to be more clear, you can add in a timer marker such as tomorrow in front of the sentence. Ashita means tomorrow, so we will add that in front to be more clear. Ashita orenji wo taberu. So now that we've handled the present and the future, let's move on to the past. In the past tense version of orenji wo taberu, just requires a stem change. We will change the ru to ta. Orenji wo tabeta. That's it. Of course, other verbs have other conjugations, but we don't have to worry about that now. Changing the formal version of orenji wo tabemasu works just the same way. We will change the masu to mashita. Orenji wo tabemashita. And that's all there is to it. Now, let's review what we have. Orenji wo taberu. Orenji wo tabeta. Orenji wo tabemasu. Orenji wo tabemashita. So, let's just try one more thing. How do we say that we like oranges or we will like oranges? The word for like is suki, so we can replace taberu with suki. Suki is one of the verbs that you make formal by adding des. The past tense of suki is sukidatta. And the formal version of that is sukideshita. There is one more thing we have to remember. In this situation, we use ga and not wo. The best explanation for why this is true is that it is idiomatic. Depending on the verb, you will sometimes use ga and sometimes use wo. Practicing the language with videocasts and watching your favorite shows will help you quickly tell the difference. Another way to explain it, which isn't always true, is that ga is used for state of beings like liking something, and wo is used for action verbs like eating something. But that rule doesn't always hold true. People just go with what sounds right. Deshita, da, datta are all conjugations of des, and is a very common conjugation you will have to become familiar with. Desu is simply the verb to be, but it gets added on at the end of a lot of sentences. It's another concept that only practice will make perfect.
So let's start applying what we learned on the past tense form. First, let me introduce you to some new vocabulary words to help get you through these examples. Our first example is from the popular anime One Piece. The first word is ore, which means I. Actually, there are many words that mean I, and this is one you'll rarely use as a beginner. The reason is it's only for males and it's informal. But in anime, it's used all the time. Next is a bit of an unusual word, gomu gomu no mi, which means rubber fruit. Gomu means rubber, and mi means fruit. The next word is kuta, which means ate. The word that we learned for ate was tabeta, but this is another version of the same word. Again, this is another word that's only used by males. So most of the time, you're probably going to use the word tabeta. We're introducing you informal male language here, which is popularly used in anime. The next scene is from the hit show Hanzawa no Uki, where we have a couple simple words. The first is anata no koto, which means about you. You should recognize a part of this word, anata, which means you, which is a word that we covered in the last set of examples. The final word is kikimashita, which means heard. Okay, let's watch these examples.
俺はお前らに話すことなんか何もない。
白水銀行の油山からあなたのことを聞きました。
Anata no koto kikimashita. The meaning of this sentence is, I heard about you. The last sentence was informal, whereas this sentence is formal. Anata is the formal version of the word you. Kikimashita is the formal past tense version of the verb kiku, which means to hear. You should have recognized it as the past tense formal version because of the stem, mashita. This sentence breaks down exactly as our lesson has taught, where the subject is hidden, so all you get is object, object marker, verb, where the verb is conjugated using the formal past tense form. Pretty cool, huh?
You did a great job today. I know we went through a lot of stuff today, so let's review what we learned. There are 3 main points. 1. Future tense is easy in Japanese. It's the same as present tense. You don't need to conjugate differently. 2. Past tense conjugation is also pretty easy. Just change the stem of the verb. オレンジを食べる turns into オレンジを食べた. And the formal form オレンジを食べます turns into オレンジを食べました. 3. が is another object marker and です is another way to make some verbs formal. You use が and です in the case of オレンジが好きです. The past tense is オレンジが好きだった. The formal version of the past tense is オレンジが好きでした. In the next lesson, we will cover the negative form. You don't want to miss it. Go get yourself some ice cream for doing such a great job. Thank you for watching. See you soon.